Kiki smiled, her dull white teeth seemingly shining in the reflection of the time machine before her. The man standing beside her, Turner, the leader of the expedition, ushered her towards the open door of the device. "We haven't got all day. If you don't get in the machine, you aren't going, and I'm not willing to give you a refund," Turner growled at her. "I'm coming," she sighed, stepping into the shining machine before her. Its lights were flashing on and off as if they were broken bulbs, and the frame was almost like that of the UFO she had been told of as a kid. Of course, now that they had discovered that UFOs were not real and just people's imaginations running wild, she no longer had any reason to doubt that they existed. Turner stepped in after her and closed the door by the flip of a switch. Then he put his hand on the lever neatly labeled with the years in increments of centuries. "Where to?" "Back to the primitives. I want to know what they actually looked like and if they really had the knowledge scientists claim they did." Turner nodded, pulling the lever. As he did so, his mouth opened and the voice he had previously vanished. "Welcome to Time Test, Inc. We are thankful that you have decided to travel with us today. I am Turner, your guide. You have chosen to go back to prehistoric times. We hope you enjoy your visit, and please remember not to leave the designated area as not to disturb anything that may affect life as we know it." As the time machine came to a stop, Kiki smiled larger than she had yet. The door opened, and outside was a field of trees and forest, nothing like the pictures she had seen of deserts and caves. This place was beautiful. "Is this really it?" "None other than." "It's beautiful." "I see." As Kiki stared at the landscape, she noticed a metal floor folding out from under the hovering machine, as well as a railing that surrounded the area. "So this is the designated area?" she asked, pointing to the floor now surrounding the machine. "You don't see any other area, do you?" Turner smiled. Kiki took her first step out of the machine and took a big breath of air. It smelled heavenly, a mixture of trees and fruit, like the greenhouses back home. "Why exactly can't we leave anyway? I can't see any of the cavemen from here," Kiki sighed, raising her hand over her eyes to block the sunlight. "If you disturb life outside the floating proximity, you can change the whole future as we know it. Simply moving one grain of sand could cause Spain to keep its rule over the Americas. Do you know how much that would differ from the way we live? England would be more or less our enemy." "You don't have to get so worked up," Kiki frowned. "I'm not going to destroy anything." "You can never know." Just then 2 huge men wearing what appeared to be business suits ran by. They looked as cavemen had been described, big and muscular, large amount of body hair, and long shaggy hair on their heads. But business suits? "Ah," Turner walked up behind her, making her jump. "These 2 have already changed the future we live in. The first-time travelers didn't know what they were doing and taught the cavemen knowledge and gave them clothes. That's why scientists now believe the cavemen were so smart. You know, both world wars, the Revolution, Vietnam, none of them would have happened if the earlier travelers would have kept to themselves. It's funny, actually. They never actually happened. We only believe they did now because the travelers made it so. But that time had already passed when they affected the future, so in some ways they caused a rift in the past." "I really don't get this at all," Kiki whispered. The look on her face was of both confusion and pain from thinking so hard. "Let me put it this way. A bird searches a certain area for a worm and can't find one, so leaves. The next day it comes back and a worm is there, in the exact same spot the bird had searched. In the past, everyone got along. Until the travelers came here and allowed the cavemen to create religion, everything was peaceful. But once they came back to the future, they were told stories of war and suffering in the past that had never existed before they left. And now there are wars back home, all because of those careless travelers." Just then, as if by karma, Turner's elbow bumped into Kiki's back, causing her to lean forward over the rail. Luckily she caught herself, but the impact caused her to spit. The little droplet impacted with the tiniest little ant, the first of its kind. Neither Kiki nor Turner ever noticed anything bad happened. "It's about time we get back," Turner smiled. "That was a little bit too close for my comfort." As the 2 stepped into the machine, the ant kept walking, drenched and barely still alive. "Emoclu Cab," the man that was running everything while they were gone smiled. Turner stared, wide-eyed. They hadn't left the area. Nothing should have changed. So why was this man talking so strangely? They're talking backwards. Kiki took a large inhale of breath. She hadn't touched anything. Nothing at all. What happened? "Tahera uo glinklat tuoba," the man raised an eyebrow. "Ilva salua diklati kill sit." "What are they saying?" Turner asked Kiki, turning his head towards her in an attempt not to let the man hear him. "I don't know. I speak of 4 words. "Ikik. Renroot," the man said slowly. He grabbed their hands and dragged them into a room. He began. "This is all my fault," Kiki held, clutching her hands to the top of her head. "If I had never gone on that trip." You never touched the ground, therefore you blaming yourself is obsolete. For all we know, there could have been another time traveler when you elbowed me, you bumped into me, and I spit on accident. Could spit really change the world this much? I doubt that it really is it's all me, all me. I wish I'd never gone back in time. Kiki started bawling as she hunched over, grabbing her ankles. She closed her eyes and let her crying drown out any noise around her. Because of her, the world was completely different, and now she had to live in this world. I don't want to live here if it's going to be like this. The choice is no longer yours. Unless you take your life, you're stuck with the rest of us. It's not that bad. It could be worse. Would killing myself turn the world back to normal? Not unless you went back in time before you chose to go back in time and killed yourself then. Though even killing you would end future generations and change the future. Maybe if you died we'd never have a female president. You never know. We've had a female president, remember? Knox? Not in this future we haven't. There's still the chance though. Maybe they'll open up. Just later in time. Take me back. What? Take me back, before I chose to come on this trip. Kiki pushed Turner into the machine and forced him to take her back about an hour before the time they were in now. Kiki ran out of the machine in a hurry but stopped in her tracks. Tears formed in her eyes when she read everything. And it was still backwards. I can't believe this all happened because of me, Kiki cried. She stared at the nearest window and started dragging herself towards it. She opened it and stared down, at least 20 stories. Turner grabbed her arm. Don't kill yourself, Kiki. Not over this. It's easy to adjust. All we have to do is learn our language again. Except this time backwards. I don't want to. This world is no fun. I like the old world. Think about the future generations, Kiki. Everyone that won't exist because you chose to jump out this window. Think about them. Do you really want them to die? Kiki thought for a moment. She couldn't decide what she wanted. Reluctantly, she turned away from the window, leaving it open. And as she walked away, a bird ran into the window.